Hello and welcome to the channel. The rain is falling hard on this humdrum town, which could only mean one thing. It's a Smiths special. So we're doing the 12-inch singles ranked in order of essentialness today. Not necessarily in order of the best A side. This will be if you've got the albums but not got the 12 inches, what is worth seeking out. And the reason I'm doing this is I've noticed the value of these records are going up and up and up. If I'm at a record fair now and I look through the Smith section, if they've got any 12-inch singles, which isn't always the case, the price is now a 30, 40, 50, even more in some cases. Just bear with me, I have a cat interruption. And yeah, so they're going higher and higher and higher. So that's why we're doing this. Let me just put this one up there. There you go, you see it up there. And yeah, so the Smiths and their 12-inch singles. So there were 17 UK singles, of which 16 were issued on 12-inch vinyl. The Smiths debut single, Hand in Glove, was not issued as a 12-inch, so therefore that won't appear on the video. But if you are buying the 7 inches, worth getting, because the B-side, which is Handsome Devil, is a live version from the Hacienda. But that one won't turn up anywhere, so we've got 16 left to go through. So every single had a little message on the run out group. I say every single, most of them did. So I'll tell you what's on those as well. And if I'm going to recommend a book, which I always do, this one called Peepholism by Joe Slee came out in the early 90s, mid 90s, I think. And that's a really great book. It goes through all of the artwork and tells you lots and lots of stuff about them. So number 16 in my list. So this is based on if the stuff is just on all the albums, it drops it down the ranking. So this is no reflection on the quality of the material, because my least essential Smiths 12-inch is How Soon Is Now, probably their most famous song. After there is Light That Never Goes Out, probably. But an absolute bodge job of a release, because I'll go through it in more detail later, because this was the third time this was issued. It was on the Meat Is Murder album in America. It was eventually issued as an A-side, and then it was reissued in the 90s, but it never really, its chart position never really reflected how good it was. The two tracks on the other side, Well I Wonder, from the Meat Is Murder album, personally I think they should have put that as the A-side. But I think that would have made it a much more essential single. That was used really well in the Michael Fassbender film The Killer. I don't know if anyone of you have seen that, but the Smiths is all the way through that soundtrack. So yeah, definitely worth getting. The cover star is from the film Dunkirk, and it is an actor called Sean Bennett. And there's no message on the 12-inch, but on the 7-inch you get the Tatty Truth. Don't know what that's all about, inscribed in the middle. But number 16, the least essential Smiths 12-inch drone, because you can get that material elsewhere. Number 15, one of the great singles they did from 1986, Ask. Eutha Joyce on the cover, who was a big sitcom star in the UK, George Mildred. The only reason this is so low is that everything is available elsewhere. So Cemetery Gates, which is from The Queen Is Dead, one of the best songs they did. That was the 7-inch B-side. The extra track on the 12-inch is Golden Lights. That's also on The World Won't Listen. So I think it's on the reissue. It might not be on the original. Can't remember, actually. Is Golden Lights on The World Won't Listen? Soon find out. Oh no, it isn't, so it's on the reissue. So actually it's a little bit more essential than I thought then. So yeah, so Golden Lights is on there, Ask is on there, but it comes down a little bit in my estimation just because it's readily available elsewhere. The little stuff on the run out grooves, Are You Loathsome Tonight and Tomb It May Concern. So number 15, number 14. So one of the early singles. So when this was issued, it was all 3 tracks were not on an album at the time, and this is What Difference Does It Make. The B-sides are Back to the Old House and These Things Take Time, which are all on Louder Than Bombs in these versions. This is the studio versions are there on Peel Sessions on Havel Hollow. So Terence Stamp on the cover, who didn't like his image being used, so permission was withdrawn, and it was very quickly replaced with this version, which is the only UK sleeve to feature Morrissey of the Smiths. And instead of about to do something unpleasant to someone with some chloroform, he's got a glass of milk. So Morrissey on the cover of that, and then very shortly after the Morrissey cover was issued, Terence Strand said, no problem, I'll go on it. So that one came back. But yeah, what difference does it make? It's at my number 14, just because everything is easily available elsewhere. The run out groove has no message on those, so there you go. So no hidden messages. So number 14. Number 13. Oh, the song that probably damned them. It was one of the, I think, 2 top 10 singles in their lifetime, and Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, which is a song that, for those who don't like the Smiths, is, you know, that's the one they use to beat you around the head. There's old miserable Morrissey. But the B-side, Girl Afraid, again, Hatful of Hollow, and you also get Suffer Little Children, which is an absolutely brilliant song, and that's Morrissey's kind of dwellings on the Moors murderers and Myra Hindley, and it's absolutely, that's one of the best pieces of music of the 80s, absolutely haunting. From the first album, and Viv Nicholson on the cover, although when it was released a lot of people thought that was Myra Hindley, so it caused a bit of a storm in a teacup, that one, in Manchester especially, I think, when one of the relatives heard that on a pub jukebox, and the son got involved. Yeah, it was a bit of a bum fight, that one. Not one of my favourite singles, purely because of the word miserable, because it just gives all those people who don't like the Smiths some ammunition. There are some messages on the 12-inch run out. So Smiths presumably, Forever Ill, and on the 7-inch you also get Smiths Indeed. So I don't know what those messages mean, but they're on there. Viv Nicholson on the cover, who's a Pulls winner, and she also appears on some of the import covers and one of the CD singles, but I'll do that on a separate video. So next up we have the fabulous actress Pat Phoenix from Coronation Street fame, that Morrissey sent scripts in to try and get a job on Cora. I think he did quite well. His autobiography goes into that a little bit, worth reading. So this one is down at number 12. So it's Shakespeare's Sister, and the exclusive track was Stretch Out and Wait, and then you get What She Said from the Meet His Murder album. This one was the first one that also had a proper insert inside of that, so I'll show you that, shall I? I love this one, actually. It's just, look at the colours on that, really pops, doesn't it? But it also came with a little one can make that out, like a faded version of Pat Phoenix, and then some adverts for the singles and albums so far. So yeah, Shakespeare's Sister, bit of a mad A-side. It always reminded me of the Stones, Have You Got Your Mother Baby Standing in the Shadow, a bit of a bonkers song. The message on that one, home is where the art is. So there you go. So that's at number 12. At number 11, one of the later singles, Candy Darling from the Andy Warhol set on the cover. This is Sheila Take a Bow. It's backed with Sweet and Tender Hooligan and Is It Really So Strange. So if you haven't got Louder Than Bombs, this is the only place to find these songs. They performed this, if I remember rightly, with Shoplifters on the Tube, one of the last TV appearances. It's also got the lyrics on the inner sleeve and the great message, Cook Bernard Matthews inscribed. So number 11, and that takes us to the top 10. So, oh, what a fabulous 12-inch single this is. So Shoplifters of the World Unite and Take Over, with Half a Person, which is on the 7-inch, and London, which is on the 12-inch. What a fabulous 3-track single. And again, the only reason that's a little bit low on this ranking is all of that material is on The World Won't Listen. But I absolutely love that A-side. Alf Ramsey's Revenge, inscribed in the inner, and Elvis Presley on the cover, Star of the 50s. And I think that was Elvis's very first publicity shot. So great single, end of 1986, and it actually came out in 87. Great song. And we're now into number 9. Number 9, what an apt single this one is. If only we'd have known how true this would be. So Big Mouth Strikes Again from 1986. A-sides on The Queen Is Dead. B-side Unlovable. And pretty much exclusive to this is Money Changes Everything, which again is on the reissue of The World Won't Listen. But if you've got the original version, this is, and you haven't got the reissue, this is the only place to get that instrumental, Johnny Marr instrumental. Cover star on his motorbike, James Dean. Obviously Morrissey's a big James Dean kind of fan. If you've seen the Suede Head video, he goes to his grave and it's all shot in where he grew up. A few messages on this one. Beware the wraths to come. Don't know if that's a jibe, but The Queen Is Dead. And Talent borrows, Genius steals. Now, the A-side here, Big Mouth, was originally supposed to be There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. And Johnny Marr insisted that it was Big Mouth. So he's to blame. So, because There Is a Light That Never Goes Out was only released, I think, in Europe as a single. And it was eventually released posthumously in the 90s. So, where are we now? Number 8. I started something I couldn't finish, so I promise I will finish the video. So this is probably my least favourite A-side, because I don't think it should have ever been an A-side. It was switched at the last minute from Stop Me If You Think You've Heard This One Before, because of the lines of planning mass murder, because of the Hungerford massacre in the UK, and trivia fans, Andy Murray was at that school. So 1997, last but one single. Now we do start to get now in these rankings some exclusive things. So because the band were no more at this point, they had to go through the vaults a little bit. So they dug out the Troy Tate version of Pretty Girls Make Graves, which is completely different really to the album version that we got. And as of yet, we still haven't had an official release for the Troy Tate versions of the debut album. Hopefully sometime they might come. Yeah, so this is one of the few places you can find that. Cover star is from a film called The Family Way. And it is an actress called Avril Angers. Beatles fans, The Family Way, music by Paul McCartney. So that's the first solo Beatles soundtrack, which is why I've got the DVD of that. But yeah, started something couldn't finish at number 8. And we do get some messages. Murder at Wall Hall, starring Sheridan Whiteside. And then flipped onto the other side, you are believing you don't want to sleep, which, for those that know the song Rubber Ring, that's a play on the little word loop that's at the end of that track. So there you go, number 8 from 1987. Now another classic A-side, and it is Panic at number 7. So the B-side is Vicar in a Tutu from The Queen Is Dead, but an instrumental called The Drace Chain. There's a brilliant version on the live album Rank, but this is the only place to find the studio version, so that's why that's so high. So yeah, Panic. If you are lucky enough to find one of these with the original stickers that came in, that's something like Hang the DJ, and the little handwritten lyric reproduction of Morrissey's lyrics to Panic, they are worth some big money there. They're definitely in the hundreds. Sadly, mine hasn't got that. So the cover star of Panic is Richard Bradford from Man in a Suitcase, and the little etching is I dreamt about stew last night. Play on words, mostly the old Carry On kind of camping vibe. So number 6 from the final album, Sheila Delaney on the cover, who was also on the Louder Than Bombs cover. And Morrissey stole an awful lot of stuff from her. Girlfriend in a Coma, and this becomes essential because the 2 B-sides, Work Is a 4-letter word, slightly longer version on the 12-inch than the single, but it has the final ever Morrissey Marr song, I Keep Mine Hidden, which is a strange little song, bit of whistling on it. I do quite like that one, but that's the only place you'll find it. So yeah, that one at number 6. We have Etched Onto It, So Far So Bad, Everybody Is a Flasher at Heart, brilliant, isn't this? And then also And Nevermore Shall Be. So forebodings that obviously the band by the time this released, were already kind of no more. So 40 years since the debut album this year, and 40 years since what I think could be the greatest ever 12-inch single of all time. So the A-side is William It Was Really Nothing, but look at the package you got on this. How Soon Is Now in its full 12-inch unedited version, and please, please, please let me get what I want. And when this was issued in 1984, all 3 of those tracks were absolutely brand new. They weren't on an album. Hatful of Hollow hadn't been compiled, and they chucked How Soon Is Now as an extra track on the 12-inch. It wasn't even on the 7-inch, it was the 12-inch extra track. Probably the daftest decision ever made out there, isn't it? You'd have thought. And I think one they regretted ever more. Apparently Jeff Travis, who was the head of Rough Trade, didn't like it. He felt it was too rocky. So William It Was Really Nothing became the A-side, and that's that. The cover star there is from a hi-fi advert, and the full picture, there's a stereo somewhere in that thing. So unknown model. That was the 1984 version. It also got reissued in 1987 with Billy Whitelaw on the cover, which I haven't got because whenever I see it, it's ridiculously expensive. But if I do spot one, I'll get it. That's the only UK 12-inch I haven't got of the Smiths, and a couple of the German versions. I've got pretty much everything now. So yeah. So William, one of the great 12-inch singles of all time. Is there anything else I need to tell you about William? Oh, there's a couple of messages on it. Impotence of Ernest, and Romantic and Square is hip and aware. There you go. There you know. So number 4, please, William It Was Really Nothing is not the greatest 12-inch single of all time. Then I think this one is. This is The Boy with the Thorn in His Side, and I've chosen this not for the A side because it's the 2 B sides, Rubbering and Asleep, and on this they sieg into one another, and it's one of the best pieces of music the Smiths ever did. They have finally reissued it in this sieg version on the deluxe reissue of The Queen Is Dead on the box set, as on the bonus disc. But again, when this was released in 1985, this was the only. All of these songs were brand new and exclusive to this, and what a great single that was, you know. Few messages. Arty Bloody Farty, and then Is That Clever? JM. So Johnny Marr there, and the cover star is Truman Capote, the author and socialite. Just isn't that a great image? So the sleeve work of the Smiths is one of the reasons I love them the most. I just think they're absolutely iconic. Top 3. So if you are at the record fair and you're thinking of, you know, which one should I buy, and if all of these were there, all at the same price, the third most essential one to pick up is this one. This is the final single at the end of 1987, and Billy Fury on the cover, who's got a statue on the Liverpool docks. And this is essential because it's got the 1985 Peel session versions of Bushhound Ruffians and Nowhere Fast. And if you can find the CD single, that's also got William It Was Really Nothing in its Peel session version, and they're exclusive to this, so you can't get them anywhere else. So number 3, the final single. The A-side is one of my all-time favourite bits of music. And we got some strange messages. Sheridan Whiteside comes back, so in The Return of the Submissive Society and the Bizarre Oriental Vibrating Palm Deaf, starring Sheridan Whiteside. So that's a little run-out groove there. Right, top 2. So the second most essential one could have been the most essential if all of this was in one place, but to get these songs you have to buy 3 copies. So we're talking about the second single, This Charming Man, and to get all of the stuff that's on this release, you have to buy the 7-inch because the B-side is Gene, because that doesn't appear anywhere else. You also need to buy the UK 12-inch because that has the song Wonderful Woman, which doesn't appear anywhere else, and Accept Yourself, which is Hazel and the Hatful of Hollow, and you get 2 versions of the A-side of that as well. I think Manchester and London, because they were two attempts at recording it. The version on Hatful of Hollow is a Peel session, so nothing to do with this. For completism, you also have to buy this version, which is different to that, just a slightly different tint to the sleeve. So this version has the one and only time the Smiths allowed any remixing of their material, and they hated it and never did it again. But there is a certain charm to these, and it's this guy worked as well with U2, did some great little remixes for them. So Francis Kevorkian, I think was for New York, I think. But yeah, so if you want to get the full Charming Man experience, I'm afraid it's going to set you back, because you have to buy the 7-inch and 2 12-inches, which is why it's number 2 and not number 1. And in the UK, Charming Man was not on the debut album, was not anywhere to be found other than in a Peel session version on Hatful of Hollows. So, and one of the most famous songs is it. It was reissued in the 90s. It was a big hit, and I think the Smiths were actually briefly at their most popular album in that whole kind of era of 92, 93, when they started to go back to the back catalogue. So what would be number 1, I hear you all asking. So for me, if I was at a record fair today, I'd got 40 quid in my pocket, I'd got no Smiths 12-inch singles in my collection, this is the one I would, with 40 years of hindsight, go and buy. And it is That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore, because it has on the B-side 4 live tracks. So you get Nowhere Fast, Stretch Out and Wait, Shakespeares Sister, but the absolute killer on that is Meet His Murder live. The live version on here is absolutely obliterates the album version, and Johnny Marr's guitar work on this, I think, is the best personally that I ever heard it. And I really wish that if they could reissue Meet His Murder in some kind of box set, they'd release that whole concert. So that's my number 1. You get, what do you get into? So the cover star is an unknown child actor, and the etching, nice one to go out with, is Our Souls, Our Souls, Our Souls. So there you go, that's the Smiths on 12-inch. I think that's it. That's all I really need to tell you. The cover star on Charming Man was Jean-Marie. Oh, and there were some etchings on that one. Slap Me on the Patio and Will Nature Make a Man of Me Yet. There you go. So thank you for watching. If you want to buy a good Smiths book, highly recommend that one. You should be able to find it used and second hand. And yeah, I better go and sort a cat out, because I can hear some scratching at the door. And see you next time. I haven't gone because I pressed the wrong button. Oh, I'll just turn it off.